All right, we are live. Lance Taylor will join us momentarily. He is Jim Dunaway. I'm Ryan Brown. It is the JohnstonRVCenter.com Saturday preview. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, always online, JohnstonRVCenter.com. LT is there, so better late than never. Welcome in, Lance. How are you?
Yeah, sorry about that. I swear I had an 8:30 wake-up call for this thing, and I got up literally like 7 minutes ago because I stayed up till 2:30 watching all of Cobra Kai with the kids.
Yeah, okay. So you got all 6 episodes in, or whatever
all
it was?
10. Yes. All 10.
Wow. That's good. I like that.
Only a small penalty for you being late. We'll discuss that a little bit later on. It is week 2, college football. We got 11 o'clock time at Fox, Texas. We will get to that at the end. We'll do Texas and Alabama late in the show there, and also Auburn and San Jose State. But to start the day, Bama a 20-point favorite, Auburn about a 21-point favorite. So the people in Vegas tell you.
Let's jump in there on that crowd, though. You know, with the 11 o'clock game and all the big pregame shows that were there this morning, it makes for a really good atmosphere for those shows. And I don't know about you guys, but I always picture Texas's home games have always been, to me, what Alabama used to be back in the 70s. It always has seemed like not a raucous home crowd in Austin, not an intimidating place to play. I guess maybe because their biggest game every year is in Dallas, but I've never thought of Austin as a tough place to play. Have you guys?
No, I have not. You're right. It does seem like one of those entitled crowds that expects to win. That they show up, and I don't know why they expect that because they haven't done a lot of it over the last 10 to 15 years.
Right.
But it seems like one of those crowds that just expects to win, and they just kind of show up and sit on their hands the way Bryant Denny used to be back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know how often they have sellouts. You know, it's 100,000 plus stadium, but it never looked that big to me because it had that open end. You know, it always looked like a glorified high school stadium compared to what we have in the SEC.
Yeah, now they have closed that end in, and it kind of looks tacky, honestly. I don't know how much it'll show on TV, but they got this big Longhorn thing that looks like a uterus, and it makes it look like the team is giving, the Texas Stadium, Darrell K. Royal Stadium is giving birth to the team when they run out of it. It's very, very, very strange, very tacky look, but they've tried to make that stadium better. So we'll get to that game. We'll get to Auburn, but Dunaway is right. That is a nice crowd there at GameDay. It's the Johnston RV Center.com Saturday preview, also presented by Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken. I wanted to bring that up because Andrew says Rockstar shredded Champy's last night. We had a lot of our audience that was down at Champy's. Got great feedback on what Rockstar did.
Yeah,
hey, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, my friends Kevin and his wife Frankie and Tommy were there, and they said not only was the food what we described on the air at Champy's Chicken, but that Rockstar was even better than they had heard over the years in the lounge. They were totally entertained and really thought Rockstar could sell out a bigger venue if we ever did that.
Yeah, look, I wanted to go, but again, I made the commitment to get into this marathon while watching a very entertaining Louisville Central Florida game up top. Yeah. Louisville bounced back in a big way. You know, we gave out Louisville plus 5.5 last night. And, Malik Cunningham, that's the Malik Cunningham I expected to see week 1. And really makes you wonder, man, does Dino Babers, does he have kind of a sleeping giant with Sean Tucker at running back and the way their defense played last week against Louisville? You know, that it seems like every year outside of the years Clemson just completely dominated, we had one team in the ACC that was kind of a surprise, going back to North Carolina the first year with Sam Howell, what we saw last year with Wake and Pitt. And you just wonder if Syracuse could really have a bounce back year this year. And I don't know. It's just weird that, to dominate the way they did Louisville. And I thought Louisville looked, like a solid, 6-6, 7-5 team last night.
Yeah. I thought that was a vintage Gus Malzahn Dunaway loss there. You're a home favorite. You're playing a team that struggled a little bit at Syracuse the week before. And your offense is dynamic in the first quarter. I mean, they scored 14 points very quickly. And then their offense got shut down by Brian Brown, the Louisville defensive coordinator, that Louisville defense done away. They just could do nothing. That looked like – I thought I saw that loss a lot in his time at Auburn.
Yeah, 31-2 at home is UCF, obviously going back before Gus as well. But I go back to the Pryor-Jordan-Hare game, all right? If you remember that game, Auburn dominated Georgia early in that game. And then Georgia made an adjustment to Gus's offense and then shut them down and came back, took the lead, and it took the prayer of Jordan Hare for them to win the football game. And I think you're exactly right. There is something about Gus's offense that when he gets off to a good start, I don't know if he adjusts really well to the adjustment the defense makes to whatever he's doing right in the game. And that has cost him some games over the year. And I thought that was a pretty bad loss for them last night, considering after that first drive by Louisville that they jumped out, got the momentum at home, and it was an opportunity to continue a great start for them and beat an ACC team. Remember, they're on their way to the Big 12. I think they're about to jump up in competition. They're going to have to win 3, 4, 5 of those type games a year now in the Big 12.
Yeah, and on the other side, I thought, Travis Williams, former Auburn Tiger, had one job to do as defensive coordinator, and that's to stop the legs of Malik Cunningham. And, that's going to be week in, week out whenever you face Louisville. And I thought they did a good job adjusting after that first drive that you talked about when Louisville went right down. I was just, I was sitting there debating with the boys last night, who's the faster quarterback? Do you think it was Rice Plumlee or Cunningham?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. Rice Plumlee's just, you see why with Matt Corral. To think that we thought that was a battle is laughable now. Rice Plumlee is not a very good passer. He is a fast guy, but Matt Corral is infinitely a better quarterback than Rice Plumlee. You see why he's at Central Florida now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if Rice Plumlee played for one of the service academies?
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you, that's one of the things I'm interested about in the Alabama-Texas game coming up here in just a couple hours is I want to see how much of what we saw last week with Bryce Young of running the football is he planning on doing this year. And also I want to see what Quinn Ewers looks like. We've heard a lot about Quinn Ewers over the years, and I didn't watch any of the game last week. I've seen a couple of highlights. I want to see on a play-in, play-out basis how mobile he is at running the football. Can he escape and try to run away from Will Anderson and Dallas Turner and get some yards with his legs? I want to see how both those quarterbacks handle this game because it's going to be, it's such a good helmet game and a good setup in Austin today that you just feel like everybody's going to give you, no more hiding. Everybody's going to throw their best pitch today. And I want to see how much Bryce is planning on running the football this year because he really didn't do a ton of that last year.
Yep.
I've got a feeling, as you guys do, that this is going to be, one of those 28 to 35 point games. I couldn't pull the trigger on this game. You guys know I hate 11 o'clock games. I think that the difference is going to be Ewers. I think Ewers is going to make so many mistakes, and just watching, more highlights on him last night, I just think he's going to be so overwhelmed. And I think that would be, much like Anthony Richardson was the story last week, what he was able to do against that Utah defense. If Ewers even can survive and play decent, have a 250 passing yard day with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, I think that's a huge win for him.
All right, it is the JohnstonRVCenter.com Saturday preview, also presented by Champy's Chicken. Listen, do some things here for us. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and click the thumbs up button. Subscribe, click the thumbs up, set alerts so you always know when we're doing stuff like this outside our regular 9 to 1 every single day, every single weekday here on YouTube. If you're watching us on Facebook, share it. Click that thumbs up as well on Facebook. Give us a good thumbs up click on Facebook. If you're watching us on Twitter, like it and retweet it, all right, so that as many people as possible can see us and join us today. If you've got something you want in the chat room, game you want us to talk about, throw it in the chat room right there, and we'll get to it. Before we get to the games, though, Kendall wants to give Lance a heck of a compliment here. I've been listening to y'all so long. I took LT's advice, got the vasectomy done yesterday, so it could be off work tomorrow for Bama, Texas today. Roll Tide, love the show. So Kendall's sitting on a bag of peas watching Bama today.
Yeah, hey Kendall, I'm telling you, it just I heard horror stories from different people. Dunaway, I know you've been there. Brent, I don't know if you have yet.
I have not. I don't think I'm going to do it. The other team took the bullet in my household.
Okay. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was a fun weekend. I did a football weekend. It was the way I marked this.
A fun weekend.
No, it was. Laid around and watched football all weekend. I got mine done on a Thursday, and it was the night Dennis Dixon for Oregon shredded his knee against Arizona. And we all talk about that seemed like an Oregon team that was going to win a national championship. He was going to win a Heisman. That was a legit Oregon team. Yeah,
for me, it was a typical landmine. I got mine done U.S. Open. I got mine done U.S. Open golf weekend, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this done on a Thursday, and then I'll Thursday morning go home and watch golf in the afternoon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I can't remember what year it was, Brown, but it was a year that rain was such a factor at the U.S. Open that it had to go into the next week of action. So I was sitting there watching, replays of previous U.S. Opens all weekend because there's nothing. There's only baseball going on, baseball and NASCAR. Just not a lot of other things going on U.S. Open weekend. So if I ever had to do it again, if I ever do a reversal and then do it again, I probably would do it during a football weekend. So I'd be guaranteed games.
So good, Dunaway. Let's see. Some more talk on Bama, Texas. Dunaway will put on the headgear a little bit later on. But we'll talk about the game throughout the show. Jamie says Bijan Robinson will be a concern for Bama. You got to limit his yards best they can, but Bama rolls. Dunaway, yesterday on the show, you said you think he'll be over 100 total yards in this game, which I think that's a huge success for Texas to get him there.
Well, we're talking total yards. So, just imagine the screen passes and things like that. You've got to somehow slow down Will Anderson and Dallas Turner, who almost have a choreographed pursuit for the quarterback. And one way you do that is dumping it out on a screen pass occasionally to Bijan Robinson, especially early in the game. And I do think that it's the first true running game you faced this year that, as Henry To'oTo'o told us on the air yesterday, plowing your land, doing your job, staying in your run gaps, not over pursuing, not trying to do somebody else's job. I think there'll be a play in the game where Bijan will reel off a long run because it's a very aggressive, talented Alabama defense. And I think you can lose your run gap at a place. I'm not saying Texas is going to win the game. I just think he goes over 100. What was it, 110 total yards?
Yeah, I think you said 100.
Yeah.
You said 113, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 113 total yards, receiving and rushing. I think that's what I think he ends up getting today.
Well, he's one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in college football. And he does have that explosion and the ability to knock off one of these 70 yards. And, if he has one of those, then obviously it goes over. But I go back to Arkansas week 2 last year and watching what Sam Pittman and that defense, what Barry Odom, what they were able to do in limiting Bijan. Bijan had 69 total yards against them. And this is going to be a much more physical team that they will see today in Alabama. And Pete Golding, the one thing he's going to do, and you said this, Brown, you did the coaches show with Nick Saban, the only player he mentioned by name was Robinson. They are focused on Bijan Robinson. Let Ewers go out. Let the speed of the game get him and just slow down Robinson. That's their one job today.
Yeah, but Brown and LT, my point is Will Anderson I know he plays like he's not human, but mentally he is human, and he has to hear that everyone is talking about him as the best player in college football and a guy who deserves to be in New York for the Heisman Trophy. And we all know, as a linebacker and a defensive player, how do you get to New York as a Heisman Trophy? If you're a linebacker, you get there by getting sacks, and the ability to use that against him early on. If he handles the run gaps today and handles the screen passes and everything and doesn't get caught just hair on fire going after the quarterback for these sacks, then that is another check in the box. I hope real football minds would say, what about the maturity level of Will Anderson? He's not worried about that individual stat. He's at home plowing his own land, keeping his run gaps, not over pursuing anything, and they don't get any yardage today with screen passes or run gaps that are out. I'm saying that there's a chance, a couple of plays today, that because Alabama is so talented defensively, because Will Anderson is so talented, Dallas Turner is so talented, those DBs are so aggressive, that there will be a miscue or two in this game. I don't expect it to be a perfect defensive game for Alabama.
So did you start him in DraftKings?
I did not. I don't want to give away. I don't want to give away my winning play. But go, if you're in the Twitter community, join the Next Round Twitter community. You can find links there. Maybe Lunsford will put it up in the chat room here.
He's got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Right there. Yep.
Yeah. Send it out and go and join our DraftKings play today. And maybe you'll win some cash from some of us. Everybody's kicking in. I think it's $5 to play today. And, I think Brown and I won the day one last week. Brown won it and I finished second. I thought I had won it, but apparently one of those rain delay games got Brown the 2 points he needed after I'd already cashed the check. So it's a lot of fun, and you got to beat me. You got to beat me to climb to the mountain.
B Rich, we'll get to this at some point. He asked LT, "What's your big play today?" Oh, I like B Rich's icon there on YouTube. He's wearing the Next Round shirt. Thank you, B Rich. Inevitably, we stumble across Lance's big play unless you just want to go ahead and throw it out here in the first portion of the show, LT.
Yeah, I can. There was a hiccup in this last night, but I'm going to stick with it. BYU lost their two top receivers.
Oh, yeah. Gunnar Romney, that's a big loss.
Romney's really good. I mean, a guy that's been there for 5 years, and he's been a starter that long. But I'm going to stick with BYU. I think it's more now they come together, they run the football. Their offensive line is so good, and they got physically whipped last year in Waco, 38-24. I just think it's a bounce back game. I hate that those two receivers are gone, but the number dropped down to 2.5. It might even be 2 now. I like BYU 9-15 against Baylor, bouncing back, winning that game.
I too like BYU, Brownie. Nobody cares about that, and I think the receiver.
We got a question. We got a question for you coming up. But go ahead. Yeah.
I like BYU in that game, LT, and I think the receivers being out plays into how they win the football game anyway. I thought they were going to win this game by doing what they couldn't do last year in Waco, and that's being more physical and handling the trenches and running it down their throat. I think it forces them now to play that way today, and I think that's where BYU wins the game. So you always want your best players on the field, but I think it actually plays into BYU's favor now that they've got to play that way.
B Rich follows up. Jimmy Teaser, what's your play today? Do you have a 3-teamer for us, Dunaway? You want to put one together for the end of the show? What do you got?
I've been flirting with a 3-team teaser, but give me a second, and I'll see if I can.
Yeah, I gave Dunaway on surface seemed like an easy teaser, and Dunaway didn't like it. It's basically Southern Cal now +2, Mississippi State at a pick, and it was Louisiana at a pick against Eastern Washington.
Yeah, I mean, there's some losers there. Mississippi State could lose the game outright to Arizona. That's a loser.
Again, I don't want to force your hand. I don't think we have a stake out there today, but I'm more than willing to take that tease.
Yeah. You want to take it on the other side.
Yeah.
What was it again?
It was
Mississippi
State at the pick, USC +2, and Louisiana Lafayette a pick against Eastern Washington.
No, I don't want to do that. Mississippi State's the one I'm scared about, but Mississippi State could win the game too. I just don't want to do that teaser because I think Arizona could win the game. But the other two are layups. USC is going to win the game by a lot, and Lafayette over Eastern Washington. I mean, come on. I mean, nobody's doing that, really. Are they really? That's free money.
No,
MyBookie.ag. MyBookie.ag. Go get free money there.
I try to give you a tease every week that is unbeatable. And last week's was obviously beatable. The first leg of it went down in the 11 o'clock window. I'm just looking for a stake play for you and I.
Yeah, well, I would take the USC part of that, the Louisiana part of that, and then I would take Oklahoma State -1, and I would take all of that. I would take USC +2, Lafayette and the Pick'em, and Oklahoma State -1, and I would play that stake. If you want me to do that, that would be a nice little 3 teaser. USC getting points. What could go wrong there? Louisiana Lafayette against Eastern Washington in a pick.
Let me give you updated numbers. I'm going to let you try to win a stake back. I don't have a problem with it. So
it's serious if I put my glasses on.
I noticed. Yeah. That made me feel that Walter Cronkite moment.
Hey, so while we're doing this, hey, shout out. We've got such a diverse crowd, but my nieces, Emma and Haley, are watching right now.
Oh, wow.
Hello, Emma and Haley. They've got layup games today because they're kind of split Alabama, Georgia fans. Dad pulls one way, mom pulls the other. You got an Alabama grad and a Georgia grad. But they both have layup games today, so there's no stress in that household. I saw Georgia outlaw line 53.5 over Sanford.
Do you think right now they're wearing Georgia cheerleader outfit, Alabama cheerleader outfit, or Vestavia Hills cheerleader outfit? Which one?
So Vestavia last night, I bet Alabama because it's a bigger game in the house.
And it's the first game. Gotcha. First game of the day.
First game out, yeah.
Okay, USC is +1. Did you say Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State is going to be
-1.5.
So I'd get them at 1.5. I get who at +1?
USC +1, Oklahoma State -1.5. And what was your final?
And you said Lafayette.
Okay, if you want them, hold on.
In a pick 'em against Eastern Washington, is that right?
It's close to a pick, yeah. I'll pull that number
wow.
right
now. That does feel good. I get Lafayette to pick 'em.
Again, I mean, how
the FCS team?
The game no, it's Eastern Michigan, excuse me. Lafayette
is
whoa. Dunaway will tap the brakes now.
Does that change?
Well, I mean, Eastern Washington's an FCS team that lost their quarterback to Washington State.
I didn't mean to say that. It's Eastern Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Eastern Washington might be better than Eastern Michigan.
You didn't mean to take my money either, did you?
You can find another one. Yeah, I like the built by Dunaway teaser. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, give me.
It's more fun that way.
What's the Texas A&M number?
Oh, Texas A&M is. And by the way, kids, if you're at home, do not play 3-team teasers in college football. You can win them all day in the NFL because they usually hit both ways. A lot of guys have gotten away from taking those. Texas A&M right now is currently 18.5.
18.5. So I could play the Aggies at -8.5.
Yep.
I'll take the Aggies -8.5.
Oh, we got a good game in College Station today. I like it.
Yeah. So App State going there with no defense to take on. As I said, A&M shows their ass and cracks App State. That was our headline.
Okay, so you've got -8.5, +1, and -1.5.
That is correct.
Okay, exciting.
Yep. So there you go,
JohnstonRVCenter.com Saturday preview. Johnston RV Center, I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. They are closing out, by the way, those 2022s, making room for the 23s, which means you can get great deals. They're at JohnstonRVCenter.com. Go see them. I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, and always online, JohnstonRVCenter.com. And thank you to Champy's, world-famous fried chicken, just off 119 there in Alabaster near the stadium. Champy's, world-famous fried chicken, great for your tailgates or just your game day fare there in the house at Champy's, world-famous fried chicken. All right, let's start with some of these games. Early window, Army, UTSA. This has been an interesting game we've talked about all week. Army at home. 2.5 from UTSA coming off that heartbreaking loss to Houston. Dunaway, I know we all watched that Houston UTSA game. They go overtime. Now they got a week turnaround to get ready for the triple option. Catching points at home seems like a pretty good spot here for them.
Yeah, I like Army in this game. UTSA, they were playing Houston. It was an emotional game at the Alamo Dome. I think that takes a little bit out of them. And then the travel and just Army. I thought Army played a pretty decent game last week as well. I like Army in a close one here. Not one that I will probably have on any of my TVs today, though.
I thought UTSA, the score doesn't indicate it because of overtime. I thought their defense played well. They limited Nate Dell last week. Clayton Tune looked okay. It seemed like they had that game in hand, and then it seemed like Houston had it in hand, and then it ends up going to overtime. I think Jeff Traylor is one of the better coaches in college football. He'll be able to get them back, but an 11 o'clock game coming off that emotional loss, it's going to be really difficult. And again, Army is so well coached with Jeff Monken. I think I would lean Army. This is a game I completely stayed away from. I've got 9 plays up today, but I lean Army.
11 o'clock also in the Little Apple, Missouri, from the SEC on the road at Kansas State. LT, a team I know you like, giving up 7.5 in this one. A total of 53 there in Manhattan.
Yeah, Deuce Vaughn is one of the best players that nobody's ever heard of because Kansas State's just an average team coming into this year. I do think Chris Kleiman is one of the better coaches. Again, a guy that is trying to rebuild that Kansas State program. Missouri's just one of these sneaky teams that's no good, but Drinkwitz can pull off an upset every now and then. It's a weird number. I don't know if you could inflate it more than 7.5 or 8 where it sits right now. Again, I stayed away from this game. This could be Kansas State can win this game by 28, or Missouri could pull off, last-second field goal and walk out of there with a win. I really don't know what to expect here.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did see was Missouri's defense opportunistic last week against La Tech with 3 interceptions, and they had 4 sacks. And the one thing we've learned about Missouri since they've been in this league through 3 different coaches now is that their pass pressure on the quarterback has been pretty good since joining the league. Probably the biggest surprise of Missouri football since they've been in the SEC. Adrian Martinez is a guy who has been, really addicted to turnovers in his time at Nebraska. So if Missouri wins the game, I think they'll do it through defense and Adrian Martinez turnovers. A tough game to pick because Kansas State is so tough at home.
Another SEC game, South Carolina is at number 16, Arkansas. The Gamecocks road special teams Dunaway to a win over Georgia State. Now they're at number 16, Arkansas. 9.5 is what Arkansas has given up in this one, with a total of 55.
Well, you got to start with Spencer Rattler. He's got to play better. They were better off with a manager at quarterback last year through the first game, or maybe our expectations were too high for Spencer Rattler. I do think he plays better today, but this is his first introduction into a true SEC football. You're not in the SEC until you play your first true conference road game, and that's what he gets today at Arkansas. And it'll be a fun game to watch. It's different in Fayetteville at 11 a.m. than it is any other time, though, because it is not the easiest place to get to. And I think that benefits South Carolina a little bit that it's an 11 a.m. game. But I think Arkansas wins this. I really like Hazelwood, the transfer out of Oklahoma to Arkansas. I think he increases his big play ability today a little bit. And I think Arkansas wins a close one.
You know, I think I've found a kind of a trend with Arkansas. You know, you guys have heard this the last couple of years. Bet Alabama in the first half because it's like they cover every first half. That's Arkansas. Arkansas, to me, seems to play better in first halves than they do in second halves. And I don't know what that is. But I saw it again last weekend against Cincinnati. And I know maybe a lot of that had to do with Luke Fickell's got a lot of new personnel, and they had to make those adjustments in the second half. But Cincinnati outplayed Arkansas in the second half after being down 14-0 at half. So, you know, I could see Arkansas come out, and then Spencer Rattler has to bring South Carolina back. I think this game's going to be right around the number. Again, I stayed away from it. I think Rattler needs to have a big game today. He can't turn the football over. And Shane Beamer, man, these special teams, I mean, that could be the difference.
Another 11 o'clock game, Lance, that I know we've all thought might be interesting. ESPNU, North Carolina is in Atlanta to play Georgia State. Carolina giving up only a touchdown in this game against Georgia State, but a big total, obviously, with that Gene Chizik defense, 64.5 in this game at the old Turner Field. I don't know. Dunaway, do you know what they call it now? Do they still call it Turner Field?
They call it, it's not Turner Field. I don't know what they call it. Let's just go Memorial Stadium at Georgia State.
Stadium.
But I like the football setup there. But I think North Carolina bounces back today and has a better defensive game. But let's don't kid ourselves now. The defense has sucked, but May has been really impressive at quarterback. I dare say they're better at quarterback than when they had Sam Howell.
I don't know if I would go that far. I think
May has looked really good. I just did.
You did. You did. I do think that he has been more than impressive early on. You know, that offense is just conducive to putting up a lot of numbers. And Josh Downs is a great wide receiver. This Georgia State team, though, man, I thought they had that game. You know, it was my upset alert last week. They led in the second half, and then special teams just imploded on them. But Sean Elliott's a good coach. It's a veteran team. I think they bounce back. I could see again, I stayed away because it's 11 o'clock. I only played 11 o'clock today. I could see Georgia State bounce back and beat North Carolina. That defense is just so bad right now for Carolina.
Lunsford always with a quick answer from the back row. Center Park Stadium is Turner Field now. I don't know what Center Park is. Maybe that's a corporate naming. I have no earthly idea. But according to Lunsford, that's the name of the stadium.
Ted Turner, dead or alive?
Ted's still with us, right, Dunaway?
No, dead.
Dead. I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. Been dead since 2011.
I'm pulling it.
I got it.
Pretty sure I was in New Orleans at the Alabama LSU game getting ready for the national championship, talking to our agent.
Pretty sure you're wrong. Age 83.
Wow.
Birthday coming up in November.
Thank you, Mr. Turner, for all you've done in broadcasting.
Well,
I guess
my point was, you know, this was a pioneer, and now they're stripping his name off that stadium to call it Central Park.
Dunaway and I with the synchronized dreams. You notice that, Dunaway? Yeah, I don't know why they would do that, except that Central Park probably brought more money to the program than Ted Turner was willing to bring.
What if it was a coffee company and it was at Central Perk?
Oh, I like that. I like old friends.
Yes. So what's Turner got his name on now outside of Ted's Montana Grill, if those even survived? Are they still out there?
I think there is one in Atlanta. You drive Dunaway over in Atlanta somewhere. One of those roads we drive near the Dome is named after Ted Turner, right?
It is Ted Turner Boulevard, Street, Avenue, something like that. And TBS, is it not still technically Turner Broadcasting System?
I guess so. Nobody calls it that, but yeah, I think so. Turner Sports. I mean, you know, Charles will tell you he works for Turner Sports, TNT, right. Turner Network. He's got a lot of stuff. Lance, don't cry for Ted Turner. It is the JohnstonRVCenter.com Saturday preview, also presented by Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken, I-65 exit 304 and Coleman 334 indicator for Johnston RV Center. You'll see those 2022 closeouts. They've got the 2023s they need to make room for. It means you get a great deal there at JohnstonRVCenter.com is where you always see them. And go buy Champy's and get that set up for your game day today. Just off 119 in Alabaster, Champy's, world-famous fried chicken. Everything from those great chicken fingers to the Mississippi Delta tamales that we love, po' boys, all that great stuff there at Champy's, world-famous fried chicken. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you have not already. Set alerts. If you're watching us on Facebook, share it. Hit the thumbs up, like button as well. Twitter, retweet us. Hit the thumbs up on Twitch, like us. Please do all those things so as many people as possible can see us. Dunaway with the like you're doing a thumb war.
Very simple to do. Very simple.
Yep, it is very, very simple to do.
By the way, next Saturday, I'll be live from Jordan-Hare Stadium on this show. So I'm down for the Auburn-Penn State game. Right now, I have 4 games I'm going to. That right now is on my schedule, the only Auburn game I'm going to. So Auburn-Penn State next week, I'll be down there with this show. So it'll be fun.
Oh, I love it. Jim Dunaway on location. Central Park is a credit union, a lot of people are telling us, by the way. Hey, Wake Forest is at Vandy. That's another 11 o'clock game. Wake favored by 13.5, a total of 65. We'll start with you, LT. Have you seen anything on Sam Hartman? Do you think he plays here?
I think he's been medically cleared. So if I'm Dave Kloss, I might at least work him in. I might go out there if I'm Wake and see how, the first quarter plays out. And there's such a different team with Sam Hartman. I mean, Sam Hartman, again, I've said this all offseason before the medical condition. I think he's the most underrated quarterback in college football. But, I think ultimately he plays Dunaway. This is an improved Vanderbilt team. This is actually a game that Vanderbilt can win.
I wouldn't play him. I would rest him. I don't know what the medical condition is and everything. He's been cleared to play. Cam Latu didn't play last week. Nick Saban said because he had not practiced enough and they wanted to get him conditioned for game action. I would do the same thing with Sam. This is out of the ACC. It doesn't, not to sound like Steve Sarkisian, but it's not going to impact the road to the ACC championship for Wake Forest. I would want to make sure Sam Hartman is ready down the road, and I think Wake has a chance of winning the game without him. This could be an entertaining game, but if Sam Hartman plays, I expect Wake to win it. I wouldn't play him. I'd wait till he's fully conditioned, ready to go, and back ready.
I would say this, though, Brown. Clark Lee's team, at least through 2 games, and I know they struggled in the fourth quarter against Elon, but going back to Hawaii, and Hawaii's hot garbage, the reason they're getting 51.5 points today, it just looks like a different attitude with Mike Wright running that offense. Such an athletic guy. I don't know how that equates in the SEC, but, their win total was only 2.5, and they seem to be improved under Clark Lee. Obviously, we know that's one of the more difficult jobs in all of college football. But they're more fun to watch this year.
To the 2:30 window, I am so excited about this game. Top 25 matchup in Pittsburgh, Tennessee at Pitt. I don't know if you guys saw the video last night from PNC Park. Apparently, Tennessee fans took the park over for a Pirates game, which probably is not terribly difficult to do. And some of their cheers broke out during the game. I'm sure Pirates fans that don't follow Pitt football were terribly confused by this. But they took the park over. Tennessee minus 5.5 in Pitt. Acrisure Stadium, I believe is how you say it. Total of 62 Dunaway. Vols almost won this game last year. They're a better team. We'll get the LT's thoughts on Pitt. I like Tennessee here, Dunaway.
I do too, and I hate that I had this headline that popped in my head after I left the show yesterday with my bad headline. Hooker scores in Pittsburgh. Volunteers line up. Was the one I was going to go. I think Tennessee has a great offensive day against Pittsburgh. I think the score looks a lot like it did last week in the 30s, but I will go Tennessee 37, Pittsburgh 27, something like that today. I like the Volunteers and hitting the Hooker to finally get this offseason of talk going in a direction of production on the field.
Again, 9 plays. One of them is this game. So I'll dance around it a little bit. It was a very entertaining game last year. I think you've got quarterback play maybe down a little bit this year because I don't think Slovis is what we got from Kenny Pickett last year. I think Slovis will be better this week. I think Pitt's going to be better. I don't know if that equates to a win. I think Tennessee is the overall better team, but it should be a great atmosphere. And it's one of the – and I think you said this yesterday, Dunaway, if I had to pick 5 games to watch today, that's definitely my top 5.
Yeah, 100%. And it should be an entertaining game. And the fact that Pat Narduzzi has turned into one of the bigger A's in the game, it seems like, or at least he was last week in the backyard brawl. Maybe he's not always that way. Boy, Quinn Ewers just popped up on your screen and mine, Brown, in the game day.
Look at that
mullet. Look at that mullet.
I mean, how hot. He's in a T-shirt and shorts, and he looks like he is on fire. He's got fat boy red cheeks right now, and he's just in warm-ups with that beard and that long hair under that helmet on that turf. Remember, this is a rare turf game for Alabama in the regular season, a day turf game, artificial turf. Most of the time when Bama is playing on a turf, it is in the postseason inside a dome. So it's a turf game.
Could you see him in a residential neighborhood work truck? He's got the sign, he's got his vape, and it says stop or go slow, caution. Yeah. He's just hitting that vape on the side.
Yeah.
Man, that looks like Quinn Ewers.
When he popped up on my screen there, I just instinctively started to hide all my copper wiring in here. I didn't want him to be the copper thief.
Speaking of work in the neighborhood, RT Fifth says LT outside. Nobody's blowing leaves behind him. A win already on a Saturday.
Yeah, it really is. I wonder what that'll probably start at 11 o'clock. I'm guessing.
Okay, yeah, right when the game's kick. Yeah.
Of course, I can't say anything. Ladybird keeps barking. Ladybird. She's got a cool bandana on. You want to see this? Come here, Ladybird.
Yeah. You know what she doesn't have on, though, is a leash, I bet.
She does not. She's in the screen. Come here, babe.
Hey, somebody asked what she had for breakfast, too.
Chicken minis.
Yeah, chicken minis from Chick-fil-A, yeah.
Better than I ate. I haven't had anything.
She had a New York butcher steak last night. New York butcher shop steak. Look at the football bandana.
How about that?
Yeah, I swung by our friends at Hamburger Heaven, had a nice little pancake and fried egg and bacon. You guys,
you go one pancake?
No.
I was about to say.
You want me to lift my shirt up? Answer the question.
That's a tease job.
We're good. Hey, let's see. Don asked, how big is the TV behind me? That is a 70. I'm having trouble with my finger. That's a 70. One of my 32s, I'm having a receiver issue, LT. I may have to call DirecTV before we get the
you better get on it now.
Can't freaking wait for that call. All right.
Have you tried to reset the receiver?
Yeah. I'll tell you what happens. I love LT giving me advice. He's done it so much, though, Dunaway. I'm going to listen.
I really have.
I know. I'll tell you what happens is, like, if you've got something set to record and you've got too many recordings, got two things recording at once, it completely throws off all your receivers. So I've had to go in and just eliminate all the recordings. So whoever in my house is recording something is not going to get their recording on a college football Saturday.
Yeah, I've got, back in the day, C-Stu used to record like the Big Bang Theory and American Idol. And Jack's got like all these Disney shows from back in the day, and it still records all that crap.
Yeah, so it just throws it off if two things are recording at once. All right, JohnstonRVCenter.com Saturday preview, JohnstonRVCenter.com. Also, thank you to Champy's world famous fried chicken. Y'all touched a lot on Texas A&M Appalachian State minus 18.5. You got any other thoughts on that? Do we need to move on? Anybody got anything? Dunaway?
Let's move on.
All right, let's move on.
I was just going to say, Chase Bryce was really good. This is a quarterback with a lot of experience, and Haynes King is really going to need to show up, not turn the football over, because Appalachian State showed they can score some points.
Yep. I agree. 3 o'clock window, Houston at Texas Tech. Houston is the ranked team in this game on the road in Lubbock, a dog. Texas Tech favored by 4, 62.5. Dunaway. That's the other side of the game we talked about earlier. UTSA and Houston. It was a good win for Dana Holgerson. But, boy, it's a tough road trip to Lubbock for them.
Angus, be quiet. I wish my dog barked that well. This is a tough game. Texas Tech doesn't have their starting quarterback, but I felt like their quarterback battle was so tough anyway that they could have chosen either of the three guys that were battling, and it was going to be the same guy. So I'm not as worried about not having their number one quarterback in this game. I'm just questioning how good Houston can be offensively this year with Tune again and the expectation. I expect this to be a wild game. I'm going to go Texas Tech with a little bit of an upset here. Other than just it seems like Houston, everyone would pick Houston. I'm taking Texas Tech just because I feel like it's going to be an upset. Just gut feeling, no knowledge.
I stayed away from it, and this wouldn't be an upset because they're obviously favored. I can't get
that. A ranking upset.
No, I get that. And Houston in a win dropped in the polls, which I didn't understand that either because I thought that was a tough environment, a really good team, and the Roadrunners that they beat in overtime. But Joey McGuire, this is his first year. Matt Wells was fired for a reason. The rosters, to me, Houston's got a better team. They've got a better quarterback in Clayton Tune because Donovan Smith was able to come in and make plays last week, but it was Murray State. And now he's had a full week to think, I'm the starting quarterback. I'm QB1, and Houston's got a little film on him. I stayed away from it because the way this number is moving, I mean, all the smart money is on Texas Tech right now. I think Houston's the better team. I stayed away from the game, but I'm fascinated by it.
Let's go to the Cyhawk, LT. Iowa at home. You know what's funny? We talked about this yesterday. You guys brought up the total was 41. I looked. It had dropped to 40. Well, guess what it's done? It has dropped again. If you thought it couldn't drop anymore, it has. Iowa favored 3.5 over Iowa State. A total of 39.5, LT. I mean, it's insane how little offense people expect in this game.
I think the lowest total I've seen on a college football game is 38. I don't know what this total does. You know, I could see a 13-10 type game. I did play this game, so I'm going to stay away from it. Iowa was awful last week offensively, and they've been awful. They were awful last year, winning 10 games, only scoring 23 points. I don't know how you do that in today's college football in the Big Ten. But for whatever reason, they find ways to win games ugly. Matt Campbell, we've said this all week, has never won the Cyhawk Trophy, which is incredible to think about. Because, you know, he's kind of become a forgotten coach because of the down year they had last year. You know, when you have such an experienced quarterback, you have Breece Hall, and you go from Big 12 championship game to, I think, 7 wins last year, he's kind of a forgotten guy. But I think Matt Campbell can still coach. Sooner or later, he's going to win one of these. Should be a really competitive, boring game.
Yeah, I think it could be today. That Matt Campbell finally wins it, but you got to think Iowa is going to have a really mad on today because of hearing all the jokes about them, even the newspaper headline with no O's in it because they had no offense. I'm going to go Iowa State, tough environment, boring game, and I'll watch some of it. Usually one of my favorite games. By the way, Ricky Williams on the Fox show right now has the same look as Quinn Ewers, full beard, stringy hair. Ricky a little older than Quinn Ewers, but it is just a hot look.
Interesting cat, Ricky Williams, man.
Yep.
Better look, Pat McAfee or Quinn Ewers?
Pat McAfee, man. I love McAfee's a cool look. If I could just take his paycheck and his look, I'd do it right now.
That is a cool look.
Pat McAfee?
Michael's asking your thoughts on Pat on game day. LT, I know you had to scramble to get on here. Dunaway, I don't know how much of it you saw. I was watching a little bit before we started. I like Pat. I think Pat's an acquired taste. He's boisterous. He's a big personality. They, I think, are obviously bringing him in, maybe hoping he can be the Corso when Corso retires.
No, I love him, and I think he makes really good, smart points. And I don't know how many people on that set do that other than Herb Street and Reese. No offense, David Pollock, but
I mean that was a shot right at Desmond and Pollock.
Yeah, you lined them up and shot them all.
Yeah.
No offense, though. I said that, so you can't take offense to it.
That's right. You can't get upset.
But McAfee made a lot of great points. Like, for instance, Louisville playing well last night after the first bad game, and you had some good performance last week. How many people can hold their water this week and play as well as they did in week 1 again today? And how many people improve and get better from week 1 to week 2? That's what makes college football so crazy is no exhibition games. And, you get a peek of what somebody could be last week. And then like Louisville, I mean, you saw Louisville play last week against Syracuse, and it was a horrible showing by them. They looked totally different last night, probably against a better team in a tougher environment, and they win the game. So he made a good point about that. Who can hold their water? Who can sort of improve from week 1 to week 2 or hold as good as they look last week.
Yeah.
And I think that's a question for, Alabama's defense today, Alabama's receivers against Texas. It's a question for Quinn Ewers too.
Look, I think Pat is really good at what he does. I'm just saying the look. Who was our worst guest ever? Chris Kattan?
Chris Kattan, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Chris Kattan. What was the Saturday Night Live skit that got turned into a movie, him and Will Ferrell?
Oh,
they did the going out.
Yeah, I can't remember that. I don't remember.
That is exactly how he's dressed.
Yeah. Somebody asked if that's a woman's blazer he's wearing. It does kind of look like it's got shoulder pads in it.
It's got shoulder pads. I think it might be a chick's shirt and a chick's chain. So all the way around. Wow.
That's an interesting dude.
Look at Dunaway thinking haters. That's a good look.
Haters. It is. It's a good look, man. He's out there.
Not a good look.
It's what he does. That's his uniform.
Maggie tomorrow, Dunaway. You go to her closet and get one of her blazers.
I don't have his bankroll. I don't have his body, his personality. I mean, it fits him.
All right, Dunaway, let's get back to the games. 5 o'clock slate. This one streaming. UAB is at Liberty. UAB giving up 6 in this one, a total of 50.5. It is a revenge game for the Blazers over the Flames.
Blazers are a better football program than Liberty is right now. And Hugh Freeze probably wanted out last year, probably wanted another job somewhere. He was hoping Brian Harsin got fired or that he would have gotten in the mix somewhere else. Liberty's one of those places you stay a little too long and you can end up losing your cachet a little bit. I think UAB goes in there and very easily runs it down their throat. I would take UAB. I'd give the points today easily. I'll take the Blazers.
I'll tell you, Frank Gore completely gashed that defense. So I think there's 2 areas of concern with as deep as starting with McBride as UAB is at running back. I think that's a concern. And Charlie Brewer, breaking the hand out 4 to 6 weeks. Seemed like Hugh Freeze had a guy that was going to be able to come in and pick up where Malik Willis left off. Going back to last year, I think Hugh Freeze is a really good coach. I think you guys agree with me. For whatever reason, he had a bad year last year. That was a Liberty team that should have been better than the 7 wins they put up. I think this is going to be a really good game. I stayed away from this game. I think UAB is the better team. But, for Bryant Vincent, who we have on the show every week, this is a big test for him going on the road, a team that dominated them last year. This is the first really spotlight game for him. So, if it comes down to coaching, no offense to Coach Vincent, but, Hugh Freeze got a ton of experience. I think it's going to be interesting. I lean UAB wins the game because of their ability to run the football.
Me too.
Yep. All right, let's go to Gainesville LT. Night game, 6 o'clock ESPN. Florida -6 as they host the Wildcats of Kentucky. 51.5 in the total. What is that, Dunaway? What are you doing? UK? Oh, okay. I think Dunaway has tipped his hand, but LT, you go first with Florida and Kentucky.
After winning 31 straight against Kentucky, the last 5 games out, 0-4-1 against the number. I like Kentucky in this spot, but I stayed away because the number continues to grow. I think it's up to 6 right now. I just wonder if Anthony Richardson can do this back-to-back. I mean, the way, and going back and watching more of that Utah game this week, some of the plays he made down the stretch were incredible. And again, Mark Stoops, really good coach. All you got to do is stop Anthony Richardson with the legs, make him beat you with the arm, and see how improved he is in the passing game. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. Chris Rodriguez, which we leaned he would play, is not going to play. That's a major factor, maybe one of the reasons the number ticked up a little bit more. I'm staying away from this game. I think it's a one-possession game, kind of like Kentucky to make it really interesting, but I lean Florida wins the game.
I'm going to take Kentucky to win it even without Chris Rodriguez. I was expecting a last minute, and maybe we do get a Cam Newton stay of execution from the NCAA. Maybe they rule on him sometime before kickoff tonight, and he's able to run out of the tunnel. I'd like to know if he's on the trip or not. I have not paid any attention to that, but I like Kentucky in this game.
It's hard to believe. Chris Rodriguez, 6.6 yards per carry for his career. That's the most for any SEC player the last 15 years.
That's an amazing stat there. We're sort of blowing off just Kentucky's defense, which I think traditionally has been pretty good with since Mark Stoops has been there. And I want to see how Florida holds up on the offensive line and what Anthony Richardson can do with a little bit more pressure from this Kentucky team this week. He handled it well last week. Can he do it back-to-back weeks? I think that goes back to what McAfee was saying on Game Day about people in week 1. Can they look the same or better in week 2?
We'll circle back and make an official pick against the number on Auburn San Jose State. But while we're here, it's a 6:30 ESPN U kick. Dunaway, what do you expect? Auburn's favored by 24. They're going to win the game. What do you want to see out of the Tigers, though? What do you? We've talked a lot about quarterback this week. What do you want to see out of them?
I want to see TJ Finley manage the game, be the guy, no turnovers, get him out to a 28-0 lead like he did last week, and then don't have the 2 turnovers, and keep working Robbie Ashford in early to sort of roll, a different look at him. But if it's going to be a 2-quarterback system all year long, let's just dive into that and go beat a San Jose State team and set the table for next week and Penn State coming to town. I hope Penn State wins today against Ohio too, and we have 2-0 versus 2-0 next week at Jordan-Hare.
Yeah, I think it's all about quarterbacks and cleaning things up for TJ. Ashford's obviously going to be in some packages and might just, be in for the entire second half, depending on how this thing goes. This was the spot last year where Georgia State came in and really should have won that game, and TJ Finley had the winning drive. There are some people out there that believe San Jose can keep this close. I'm not one of those. I think Auburn's defense is way too much for San Jose. I think Auburn. I would put San Jose's points at less. I'd go under 13.5. So I think Auburn wins this with defense, Tank and Hunter running the football. And like you, Dunaway, I'd love to see TJ play mistake-free. I don't know if it's possible, though.
Stay with ULT. I don't know if you've decided who you're pulling for in this game, but number 10 USC is on the road at the Farm at Stanford. They're favored 9-66 is the total for the primetime ABC 6:30 kick. I'm not sure if you picked a side on this one to cheer for, but we know all week long you think Stanford's going to give USC a pretty big test here.
I really do. And there's only a couple of people that agree with me on this. This is one of those, okay, we got prime time. Lincoln Riley's hyping up his guys. We're coming off 66 points. USC hadn't scored 66 points since 2004. Let's go out there and let's show everybody what USC's about, what this new brand's about. And I could see them run Stanford off the field. They've just had so many problems the last 10 years at the Farm. This is a different team, but again, this is a team that beat USC by 14 last year. They've got 25 new players, including Caleb Williams, Travis Dye, Jordan Addison, skill guys that can make big plays. But Stanford's got a hell of a quarterback in Tanner McKee. I just think it's going to be a tight game. I ended up not playing it because I want to be all in on USC tonight, and I hope they run them off the field. This was my upset alert. Number continues to drop a little bit, which shows you there's some smart money on Stanford out there. But I think USC wins the game, but I think it could be closer than most think.
As long as USC wins the game, I'm good because I have them +1 in the teaser we did earlier. But I mean, if we're going to have this USC resurgence this year, it can't be a lackluster day on the Farm for USC. This needs to be a star-studded night with Herbstreit and Reese doing the game. Fowler will be at the U.S. Open. It's prime time. This is where USC should shine on the road. I think they finally flex their muscle tonight and show that this is not going to just be a one-hit story this year, that USC is going to be here for the long run. I like the Trojans. I like them by a lot.
I just think there's going to be some hiccups. We all remember Nick Saban's first year. And what did Alabama start? 3-0 or 4-0? They were ranked. They played Georgia. Matt Stafford laid that dime in overtime, and they had the walk-off. Was it 3?
They didn't have the portal then, though, and that's the difference. I mean, imagine if Nick Saban had the portal that first year and had been able to send people packing and bring in 16 stars.
Great point.
Look,
great point.
I heard somebody talking about it last night, and I forgot who it was, but I guess it was at halftime of Central Florida and Louisville, saying that no, I'll tell you who it was. So this loses all credibility to me. It was Joey Galloway. But he believes that USC has the firepower where they could actually be that fourth team. We're all but decided that it's going to be Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State again in the college football playoff. Who's going to nab that fourth spot? And, maybe with these 25 guys, they all come together and they buy in. I just think the schedule gets really tough. I think it's a tricky game tonight. You've got Fresno next week, then you got Oregon State, UCLA. I mean, there's tough games on this schedule for USC. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right, Dunaway. I hope this is the surprise team, and I hope Lincoln Riley is able to do it in year one.
Dunaway, Oklahoma State minus the 11.5, hosting Coach Herm and Arizona State, 6:30 ESPN 2 kick, total of 58. This was my upset alert, but since I think I gave it at like 9.5. This number has jumped up for some reason. Oklahoma State now a double-digit favorite in this one.
Is there a chance this is Mike Gundy's best offense at Oklahoma State?
There's a
chance. Yeah, maybe so, but they may need it because Derek Mason's defense against Central Michigan did not look good at all, Jim. I know you watched a good bit of that game.
Yeah, I did because I did not start Spencer Sanders, and I was watching that game regretting that in our DraftKings as he got like 17 touchdowns, it seemed like, in that game. What a really good quarterback he is. And their run game is good. Their receivers are good. I like Oklahoma State. Just because, and I say this without really watching a lot of Arizona State in week one, I just, in the offseason, all the players they've lost, all the coaching changeovers and everything, this just seems like too much to bite off for Herm Edwards and Arizona State on the road.
How about this? Arizona State 14-3 against the number as a double-digit dog since 2010. They've been really good in these spots. I do think the program's going down. I think this shows you Mike Gundy's coaching ability because – it looks like this year they're going to go back to old school Gundy and they're going to win with offense. Derek Mason's defense, especially in the second half, just completely tapped out last week against Central Michigan. Oklahoma State, with Spencer Sanders. I saw flashes a couple of years ago. I think they kind of limited him last year and let that defense win games for him. I think they're going to let him go wide open this year. I think Oklahoma State's going to be a fun offensive team to watch. I did play this game, so I'm going to stay away from the side. It's a lot of points. The number is moving in a strange way. But looking forward to that game, and looking forward to seeing how Herm. It's all but inevitable. This seems to be Herm's last year, and how's this thing going to play out?
It is the JohnstonRVCenter.com Saturday preview, JohnstonRVCenter.com. Also, thank you to Champy's world famous fried chicken. We just got a few minutes left. We're going to come back and make picks against the spread on both the Alabama and Auburn game. But let's hit this late night slate that we're all excited about. It starts at 9:15 ESPN, Baylor BYU. I know we've hit on that some. Let's come back to it real quick. Baylor minus the 2.5. They are missing Lance, some key players, as we mentioned earlier, including Gunnar Rodney, one of their top receivers.
Yeah, 2 top receivers are out right now for Kalani Sitake, and Jaron Hall's going to have to play better. He took 5 sacks in that blowout win last week against South Florida. BYU's got a great offensive line. I think he held on to the football too long last week. He's going to have to play lights out. They're going to have to run the football with that physical offensive line. This to me could be the best game of the day. And if BYU wants to take it to the next level, this is a game. And the same for Baylor. Baylor is really, really close, and some people have them winning the Big 12 and getting to a college football playoff. So this is a huge swing game for both programs tonight. And again, it's my lock. I've got BYU, the 2 receivers going out, that getting announced yesterday. That scares me a little bit, but Dunaway, you made a really good point. If you want to win this game, it's going to have to be physically running the football, something they couldn't do last year. But I do like BYU a lot still.
I do too. I like BYU. Underrated home field advantage in Provo as well. That's why I'll take the Cougars.
Ooh, all right. So Dunaway going with the Cougars there. Jim, Mississippi State, Arizona, also in that late slate. State out in the desert playing Arizona. They are favored 10.5, a total of 57.5. And we talked about this, Dunaway. A lot of people think it'll be a much higher scoring game than that. Not even the highest total on the board today.
Yeah, I was talking to some Mississippi State friends via text last night. 2 big listeners of our show that are out there, including my buddy Brian. Them and their wives, they're at a spa outside of Tucson in the desert. Ooh. It looks beautiful, horseback riding, hiking, pools, just life in the desert outside of Tucson. Big Mississippi State grads. They're going to the game tonight. A lot of State fans out there. And I made the point to him. I said, this is a chance for Mike Leach to show me a different side of him, to sort of play a traditional SEC style, control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, maybe even slow it down a little bit and win this game a little bit more with his defense and running the football as opposed to just throwing it all over the yard. Still throw it because you are Mike Leach. But, one thing that was underrated about his time at Washington State and Texas Tech, they played better defense than most people expect, and you guys love their defensive coordinator. I think State wins it. I think State covers, and I think State, even though it's a bit more entertaining game than people expect because Arizona sucked last year, it's a better Arizona team. Fun game today, but Hell State.
Well, Jed Fish did take advantage of the portal. I mean, you've got a legitimate quarterback now in Jaden DeLaura, and it's hard to believe in today's offensive world of college football that back-to-back years in 20 and 21, Arizona averaged 17 points per game offensively. They go out, they get 38 last week against San Diego State. And what a lot of people believe was kind of a shocking with the way that game played out, 38-20, San Diego State opening that new stadium. I've got to play on this game. I've noticed now I've got a lot of night plays tonight. So I'm going to stay away from it. It's a big number. You guys know I like this Mississippi State team. I love Will Rogers, and I don't think he will have too many problems with this defense. Could be a shootout.
All right, let's stay in that late slate because I knew you also, LT, like Oregon State. They're catching 1.5 on the road at Fresno, total of 61. By the way, that Mississippi State-Arizona game on FS1, the one we're talking about now on CBS Sports Network. So you're going to have to get off the ESPNs to find some of these late-night games. Oregon State at Fresno State, LT.
Okay, so if I did a West Coast top 10, I think both of these teams would make my West Coast top 10. Yeah, this is another game that I've given out. I love this game tonight. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Oregon State was the max play last week, the lock on Saturday. They looked great early. I think Klatt pointed out that he didn't like the way they closed that game, but still, it was Boise State. Boise State looked okay last night. I don't know what you guys thought about that. I don't know if Andy Avalos is going to work out because Boise State, the expectations are 10 wins a year. But this should be a fun game. Jay Kaner, if you haven't seen him at quarterback, really, really good quarterback. On the other side, Chance Nolan is good in spots, but he turns the football over a little too much, turned it over twice last week. And these are two tremendous coaches. I like Jeff Tedford coming back and obviously Jonathan Smith, what he's building at Oregon State. This will be a fun game.
Yeah, I agree. You've got me fired up for this game, and it'll be on TV3 for me this evening. I like Oregon State in this game because I feel like he's a year ahead in the building process, maybe 2 years ahead in the building process. So I'm a Beaver believer tonight.
All right, Dunaway, official pick. Bama minus 21, total of 65 at Darrell K. Royal Stadium in Austin. Against the spread. We know you think Alabama's going to win against the spread. What do you think happens here?
I think it's 24-10 at the half. I think the final score ends up being 40 to 20. So a 20-point. I take Texas just inside that number.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 42-17. I think Texas is going to have a problem offensively, and I think the moment's going to be a little too big for yours. I think they limit Bijan, and I didn't play this game. I wanted to lay it with Alabama. Too many people. I think 80% of the money's on Bama right now. It seems like easy money. It really does.
It does. I like Bama by 24, so I think they cover that number. Speaking of 24, Dunaway, that's what Auburn is favored over San Jose State with a total of 48.5. Auburn minus the 24. What do you think there?
I think it's Auburn 31, San Jose State 17 tonight. So I'll take San Jose State and the points there as Auburn continues to keep it very vanilla before Penn State comes to town next week. So an easy win for Auburn, maybe a late backdoor cover for San Jose State. Wouldn't want to play that game either, just because you never know how much Auburn will want to lay out there before the Nittanies come to town.
Look, Harsin knows he's got a good defense, but I think Harsin and Keesall want to instill some confidence in this offense before they get Penn State. So I think they go out, they try to put on a show today. I like Auburn big.
I can't get a feel for this one. I think 24 is a lot. Give us, LT, the San Jose State quarterback. You gave us a crazy story. It's hard to believe this guy still has eligibility left.
Yeah, Chevon Cordero, the kid that played against Khalil Tate in Arizona to open the season like 3 or 4 years ago, and he was the kid that came in for McDonald, who was a pretty good quarterback for Hawaii, and he lit it up. I mean, this was a highly recruited guy. He's a dual threat. He can run the football. So if he has, a bust-out game, then maybe things get a little interesting for Auburn. But he's a good quarterback.
Yeah, I feel like 24 is too big there. All right, real quick, let's answer some questions, then we'll get out of here and get our College Football Saturday started. Michael Dunaway wants to know, do you remember a singer from Oklahoma that you referenced yesterday?
Zach Bryan, right?
Maybe so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was on our Ask Us Anything show from
okay.
Yeah, Zach Bryan. I think he's from Oklahoma, or at least out there, Oklahoma or Texas. He sings about Oklahoma a lot. Really big fan of his, and just don't know his bio. But I used to love Cross Canadian Ragweed, which I think also is from Oklahoma.
Right. Let's see. Jay asked, did you put out a TV sheet Dunaway? He went through Twitter and he missed it. Will you retweet it, Jim?
Yeah, I'll retweet it in just a second. 2 sides this week because everyone tied Hoop News last week, got everyone fired up about a different way. So I did it by conference on one side and traditional on the other. So it's extra crispy or traditional.
Lunsford's also linked it in the chat room there. So
there's the link right there.
Yeah, there's the link.
There's a link.
So good job by Lunsford, as always. All right, that should do it. What time are we going live? People were asking earlier. We're going right after Stanford USC. What do you guys want to do late here?
Yeah, that's what I figured we would do. Man, guys, such a good late window. I mean, if you guys
we'll miss the first half of those games.
Yeah. If you want me off the rails, we could wait till 1.
What do y'all want to do? You call it, Dunaway?
Oh, I would do 1 o'clock. I don't care. I don't think the Mississippi State game will be over at 1.
We'll feel this out. Let me see what direction I'm going in, because I've gotten no sleep because of Cobra Kai last night. So
Yep. I think the bigger question is, are we doing a immediate reaction to the Alabama game on Twitter Spaces after that game?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do a Twitter Spaces Alabama reaction. 2 or 3 of us, whoever is able to jump on at the time, we'll do that. for Bama and Texas, just to get your reaction on that. And then we'll this is why it's important you set your alerts. We'll figure out what we're doing late. We'll tweet it out, post it on Facebook, but make sure you set your alerts, especially if you're on YouTube, so that you get an alert that we're live.
Always
so
9 a.m. Central here, though. Pregame's
right.
always 9 a.m. Central.
That's right. So set alerts, like us on YouTube, subscribe if you have not already. If you're watching us on Facebook, give us that thumbs up as well. Retweet all of this. Make sure you set your alerts, though, and we'll be back with you later on. Thank you so much to Johnston, RVCenter.com, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, always online, JohnstonRVCenter.com. Check out those 2022 closeouts, making room for the 23s. And thank you to Sterling and the great people there at Champy's, world-famous fried chicken, 119 in Alabaster. Rockstar was there last night. You can go by and get your game day fare. If you're headed to Auburn, great place to go. Get some tailgate food with those famous chicken fingers, the Mississippi Delta tamales, po' boys, fantastic food with Sterling and the crew at Champy's. And as Dunaway is pointing at his beautiful, kind of Ole Miss colored hat, you can get those nextround.store, nextround.store.
We call that the Love You Blue hat. We have a battle red and a Love You Blue. Yeah,
that's the best hat.
Everybody, enjoy your football Saturday. We'll be back after the games tonight. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your